Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children 18 plus. You are tuned in to the Loan Officer Podcast with me, Dustin Owen, and a very special guest. This dude drove up from South Florida by way of Chicago, Illinois. He is $100 million plus mortgage loan originator. He is one of the top mortgage coaches in our industry. He is my new friend, Justin Lapatin. Justin, welcome to the Loan Officer Podcast.
Hey, man. Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Yes, it's exciting. The Justin and Dustin Show.
I like it. It's got a good ring.
Yeah, it does. That's something we can do a spinoff, right? Because most of our fans know me as by my initials, D.O. It's like, oh, yeah, it's D.O. from TLOP. But you and I could do Justin and Dustin.
Well, we could do D.O. and J-Lo.
Oh, D.O. and J-Lo, even better. I'd prefer Ben Affleck's J-Lo. Like, true story, but this would work. You make a very good 1B.
Not bad.
If she's the 1A. Nah, man, thank you so much for taking the time, making the drive. 3 hours. Out of curiosity, like, were you jamming the podcast your 3 hours up? Were you jamming out the GNR? Maybe you had some, like, old school Tupac and Biggie? Like, what'd you do with those 3 hours driving up here today?
Yeah, I like that. So I did pre-plan my drive. Number one, it's nice to be in the car solo for a bit and just have some quiet thought to yourself, right? Like, jokes aside. Nice to cruise. I work from home primarily. So get in the car, cruise for a little bit, have my coffee, a little bit of podcast stuff. 3 or 4 friend calls that I haven't talked to in a while. Sometimes we forget to call our friends and check in on people we care about. As you mentioned, I'm from Chicago. I moved to Florida 2 years ago. So caught up with a couple buddies, saw how they were doing. Called a couple of my coaching students. Every week or two, I'm checking in on 3 to 5 people, just so personal. How are you? What's going on? Anything you want to unpack? Talked to one of my team members, gave him some direction for the day. And before you knew it, I was here.
Love it. So you drove with intentionality.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because I'm sure anything that you do in your life, because you're highly successful, you do with intention. Very cool. Wife, kids, what do you do for fun? Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, so I'm married. Married my high school sweetheart.
Ah, so did I.
May will be my 10-year anniversary this upcoming May 11th. Got 2 beautiful kids, boy and a girl, 4 and 7. And what we do for fun, we love to travel. So we go back to Chicago every year. We road trip. I'm going up to Asheville later this month.
Staying at the Biltmore?
No, we rented actually like a big mountain house. We're having all of our, it's my mother-in-law's 70th birthday.
Oh, super fun.
So we're doing a couple road trips, taking my kids to the Bahamas for spring break. We're going to the trendy Baha Mar, which is
I've not done Baha Mar yet.
Yeah.
No, we did with our kids when they were about your kids' age. What's the other one over there? Atlantis.
Right.
Yeah, we did Atlantis. They were actually building Baha Mar because my kids are literally about 10 years older than yours.
Right.
Very cool. But I too married my high school sweetheart.
Yeah.
I did not know that about you.
Yeah.
Knew the Chicago, knew the wife, knew the 2 kids. Didn't know she was your high school sweetheart.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. And you golf for fun?
Play a little golf when I can. I enjoy it. I love to exercise. Love to be outdoors. Definitely love the Florida outdoor lifestyle. That was one of several big drivers for us to move down here.
I bet. Out of curiosity though, you cool with July and August in Florida?
Technically, I'm not cool.
Yeah.
But you take the good with the bad. It's better than shoveling snow 3 months a year, walking outside your car, slipping on ice, dropping your coffee, and being pissed off for the rest of the day.
Those are facts. My wife's family is all up in Chicago. Literally, like shout out Jimmy, Aaron, Mikey, like the whole crew. And that, let's say the whole crew, we all vacation together, the cousins only. And we rent a house every 2 years. And this year, because the twins, who are now 22, we have a rule you have to be 21 or older. With the twins, we'll have over 27 Chicagoans.
Wow.
And we pick a new city. Wow. This year is Nashville. Yeah, so shout out to all those people. But I was going to say is my father-in-law duped my mother-in-law back in like 1981 to like, oh, we're just going to go to Florida, honey, for 1 year or 2 years. His company is going to transfer him, and then he's going to get a big promotion and move what my mother-in-law still calls home. 40 years later, she calls Chicago home. Yeah. Yeah, 40 years later, they still live in Florida because my father-in-law was like, I'm never, ever shoveling snow again. I'm absolutely done with it. But, we welcome you to the Sunshine State.
Absolutely, man.
And thanks for being here. How did you get into the mortgage industry? Because nobody goes to school saying, I want to be a mortgage loan originator.
Yeah, great question, man. I mean, it's a little bit of a longer answer, but my background is when I was young, I watched the movie Wall Street, and I loved it. I still try and do the Wall Street hairdo, until I'm going to use it until I lose it. But I wanted to be a trader. I was fascinated with finance. I was fascinated with economics. When I say fascinated, that was the only subject that interested me in school.
Okay.
I was an athlete, played a lot of sports, did enough to, get decent grades. And so when I went to college, I actually wanted to play sports. I walked on a football team, walked on and walked off. I'm a 5'8" white guy, in case you can't tell. And after about a semester of being there, I just realized, like, this is not where I'm going to be. I was working at an early age. My dad was a taxi cab driver, immigrant, didn't make a lot of money, super blue collar. I was frying chicken at 15 and working at golf courses just to help my parents pay bills and have a cell phone and $5 to get some beer on the weekend, right? So hard work was ingrained in me at an early age. And my dad came up actually for the parents' weekend, and he looked around. I was showing him the frat house. We partied at the football game, and he's like, the next day when my senses kicked in, he's like, "What are you doing?" Like almost in like a challenging way. Like, you're a smart kid. Like, do you understand that? It's, at the time, this is 02, 03.
Okay.
This is 10 to 12 grand a semester to be at a Big Ten school. You're paying for this. I thought you could be a trader. I thought you could go make money. Like, what are you doing? You're going to do this for 4 years and basically owe 100 grand and be exactly where you are now with less brain cells and in a broken English accent, more or less. And I was like, well, shit, that's a great point. And it was kind of like leaving a party early. Like, I gave everyone the Irish goodbye, and I was like, well, hey, I'm out.
No way.
I'm out.
You just like mid-semester got up and left?
After the first semester.
Okay.
I finished the end of the semester.
Yep.
Went home for 2 weeks, made a few calls, got a paid internship at the Chicago Board of Trade, and never went back.
Well, that's commodities, right? Board of Exchange, is that mostly commodities?
Futures, options.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you were 18, 19 years old?
I was. I had just turned 19.
Wow.
Yeah.
What school, by the way?
University of Iowa.
Oh, Hawkeye, huh?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was like the easier school if you couldn't like you couldn't get into U of I or somewhere,
And I have two cousin-in-laws
Yeah.
who both went to University of Iowa, and I'm pretty sure that for certain students they offer reciprocity in terms of like in-state tuition.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
But
like
for out of state, it was super expensive.
yeah. Oh,
Relatively speaking.
That
Right.
okay. So you were paying out-of-state tuition.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, my one cousin, his father was military, and if your parent was military and you lived in a adjoining state, Illinois to Iowa, then they honored in-state tuition if your parent was a veteran of the armed forces.
Yeah. So
Yep.
so I did that at 19. I was on the floor. I was learning how to trade. Would wake up at 4:30, take the train downtown. I was living in the suburbs of Chicago at the time, and I'd work till 2:33 till the markets closed. And I was a runner. I was a clerk. I was basically like, the guys would get a trade card. They'd make a trade on a note card. They'd throw it to me out of the pit. I'd jump and catch it in the air, and then I'd run back to my desk, enter in all this data, update their positions and their spreadsheets, bring them back, run into the pit like a running back.
Okay.
Get them the document, and I did that all day for like 7 hours.
So you were like Tim DeWhite on the trading floor.
Basically.
By the way, Tim DeWhite's probably one of the greatest undersized football players to come out of University of Iowa, right?
Yeah. So my whole thing was, how quickly can I get their next move made, and how fast can I make them money?
Okay.
How fast can I go from what someone would do in 5 minutes to do it in 3 or in 2 minutes?
Were you commissioned on that? Like, did you get paid on how many trades you helped make?
No. I was on like a 48K base salary starting, which
Okay.
at the time was pretty good.
Yeah.
I was 19, and eventually I worked my way up into the maybe mid 50s, early, or mid to high 50s. This was a couple years after 9/11. Wasn't a lot of money to be made. The guys that I was working with were great people. A lot of people down there were not good people, right? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean by that? They were good human people that said, hey, man, there's a glass ceiling here. In order for you to now go make money and trade on your own, we otherwise would have supported you with our own backing. We're not doing that anymore. So unless you got $250,000 or your mom or your daddy can write a check, which they obviously couldn't, I don't want you to end up like that guy over there 10 years later, doing drugs, burnt out, completely lost in life, but not figuring it out until you're in your mid-30s.
Wow.
And I had no clue.
By the way, were you? I'm trying to like envision this in my brain here. Were you like wearing one like the
Yes.
blue smocks or whatever you have to wear?
Mine was green. I looked
Okay.
like a painter's jacket every day with khakis and like New Balances on because I was on my feet all day.
Yeah. And then, do they still do it that way?
No, it's within the last 7-8 years. I would say, I'm guessing over 80% of traders are completely on screens in an office. I think the floor outside of commodities and corn and grain and things like that, that's a dying breed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I would think like anymore, just give someone like you, a runner, a tablet, right? Just like sit there and just punch it on the tablet.
Yeah, I mean, it was, again, this is 2002, 2000.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking 20 years ago, right?
Yep. No, very cool. So you had really solid life advice thrown to you.
Yeah. I got an education from the School of Hard Knocks.
Yep.
I learned how to be a man. I learned how to think at a high level. I learned how to be around money. You know, they'd give me a couple grand and tell me to go buy lunch and pick something up for myself. You know, they'd give me cash bonuses. I just got exposed to things I was never exposed to as a young kid, especially coming from blue collar, lower middle class, taxi driving family, right? So it opened my eyes and made me realize that I will never trade dollars for hours. Never. I will never work a full-time job. I will always be 100% commission. I will earn what I'm worth.
Wow.
And those are words that I heard in so many words that just stuck with me, right?
So these are the traders, the guys that you were hustling for, the guys that you were trying to take a 5-minute task and turn it into a 3-minute task.
Right.
So you could go help them make the hundreds of thousands or millions of dollars that they were making.
Millions
That they were making.
Yeah.
The traders were making millions. You were making 48 to 52 grand a year, plus free lunch and some cash bonuses here and there.
Right.
They saw something in you and said, hey, kid, you got drive, you got hustle, you are a smart kid, street smart.
Yep.
Maybe not book smart, but definitely street smart. You deserve more. You can get more.
Correct.
But more doesn't mean exchanging your time for this paycheck we're giving you.
Correct. So I said, so you're telling me there's no growth. Okay. So I said, I need to figure out my next move. They're like, we don't want you here by the end of this year for your benefit.
Yeah.
And this was like in the summertime. So I got my personal training license. I opened up a couple T-Mobile kiosks, and I was doing 2 or 3 other side jobs total. So I'd leave at 2 at the Board of Trade, 2:33. I'd either go personal train or I'd go to a T-Mobile store that I was like partners in, and I was doing whatever I could to make money. Because at this stage, I'm now 21, bought a condo, and my parents had gotten divorced, and now my father, who never took care of himself, immigrant, never went to the doctor, had a horrible heart attack, no money saved, no 401k, no nothing, my responsibility.
Wow.
So at 21, 22, I'm taking care of my dad. My brother and my sister are younger. I have 2 siblings. They're doing their own thing. My mom was okay. They're doing their own thing. They parted ways, but I was the man of the family. So I said, okay, now what? So fast forward, I meet a buddy at the gym one day. I see him, and it's like a Wednesday night. This is after my second job. It's 9 o'clock. I had just gone to T-Mobile, came back. I'm going to go get a workout, get a sweat, maybe play some hoops. I was a basketball guy. So I see him walk in. It's Wednesday night. He's in a suit. And this guy used to be a personal trainer, by the way. He used to be a personal trainer at Lifetime Fitness.
Okay.
So now he's in a suit, and like my eyes popped out of my head. I'm like, dude, who the hell gets married on a Wednesday? Why are you in a suit? He just got in the mortgage business. It's 2006. The business is booming, and he's like, dude, I'm making 20 grand a month, eyes closed. I'm paraphrasing here.
Yeah.
2 days later, I'm interviewing for his boss, and the rest is history. Got into the business. I started on May 28th, Memorial Day, on a Monday, 2006. They wanted to test me. Brand new startup company. They left a big company, and it was all subprime refinances. They said, if this guy comes in, like, we're going to hire him behind me, behind the scenes without me knowing. So I came in after being hungover at partying all week. I mean, it was Memorial Day.
Yeah.
So Monday I come in. I made 150 cold calls with a phone, with a dial phone with a cord, a pencil, and county records on the long documents. And I did that every single day for pretty much 5-6 years.
Wow.
Within my first 90 days, I was making 10 grand a month.
Good for you.
Yep.
But that is some crappy sales job. Like, I say crappy meaning 150 cold calls.
I said, if he can do it and he can do it, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
Because it didn't take rocket science. It took grit.
Yes.
It took a lot of effort. It took enthusiasm, charisma, understanding how to connect to people, which is a learned skill. But you can't teach people effort. And I was money motivated. I was driven. I was ambitious. I was money motivated. But I also had my father's bills, medical bills. I had a mortgage. And I was like, how much do I make per deal? And they're like, $3 grand. I said, cool. So 5 deals a month, I make 12 to 15 grand minus this, that, and the other. Yeah, cool. How many calls do I need to make? I just reverse engineered the numbers, got better. And this was in the old days where I'd work from 9, really like 8:30 to like 6. Then I'd print out my loan apps, drive them out to all my clients' homes in the bad parts of town.
Have them sign them?
Have them sign them, get an appraisal commitment check for $25, drive back, get home by 10 o'clock, maybe go to the gym, wake up and do it all again.
Rinse, repeat.
Rinse, repeat. And on Saturdays, when all my buddies were out tailgating, watching college football, doing all that stuff, 9 to 3, I'd go pick up another deal every weekend. If I wanted to go on vacation or I needed to pay a bill or I wanted to get a new car, I'm picking up a deal every Saturday.
You know what's crazy? And I mean, we're on 300 plus episodes of this podcast, right? And this podcast is literally to introduce all people to people like you, right? And others, because you may have made your money in mortgage, but your skill set applies to just about any industry, whether it's business, entrepreneurship, sales, etc. And it is all things that we all have in us. It's just a matter of, have you uncovered it or have you found it? It's the drive, it's the motivation, it's the willingness to sometimes embrace the suck and do something painful. But pain is temporary, and pain is easy to get through if you know where your end is. For you, pain for me would have been cold calls. Cold calls are painful. But if I know there's an end, meaning after 150 I can stop doing this, then I can withstand pain for 3 hours, because I know it's only going to last me 3 hours. Why 3 hours? Because I've just reverse engineered how long it would take me to make 150 phone calls, knowing that not everyone's going to pick up, knowing many people tell me to F off and hang up quickly. So I don't have that many talk tos, right? I maybe only have 15 talk tos.
Right, and this is pre-phone burner, by the way, right? So
right.
This
hey, shout out phone burner, by the way.
You know, I had really strong fingertips.
Oh yeah, any carpal tunnel from that?
No, thank goodness, man.
So you did it for 6 years. So you went through the crash.
Went through the crash. You know, some months I was making 15, 20 grand. Some months I'd make, you know, I don't know that I ever went a month without closing a deal.
Okay.
I would work. I mean, I was just relentless. And again, I had a big why. I had I had people counting on me. So I didn't have I didn't have a resort. I didn't have a last resort or a backup plan. My ships were burned. I was like, I'm not going back to school. I bought a condo. I'm taking care of my dad. Like, I just had a
not going back to the trading floor.
Dude,
and those kiosks were fun, but
I'm like, I'm going to make this work. And I had great people around me, right? You and I were talking about this. One of your podcast episodes, you talked about 5 things that are important to make the next year your best year. And one of them is around being around the right type of people. If I was around a bunch of losers, and I say that not in any particular way, but that were doing things unethically, that were taking advantage of people, that were not like encouraging and empowering me to learn, then I would have been a loser. I would have been a below average achiever, and I probably would have been washed up out of the business, how a lot of people did, because they were around unethical, bad people. I mean, it is what it is. It was a very shady business. Luckily, I was surrounded, part of it's fortune, part of it's my own intuition, with good people, and I stuck around the good people. I stayed around the good people, and that helped me just weather the storm. So yeah, when there were bad months, like, I had saved my money. I was driving a Toyota Camry when I was making 150 grand a year. Like, I didn't care. I was saving money. I was investing. I was buying real estate. I didn't know that on my own. I saw other people and I modeled their behavior because I respected them, and I wanted to aspire to be like them, right? And so it was just a crazy journey, but we went from all cold call to lower my bills, lendingtree.com, to eventually going from, like, you know, a horrible broker model, which was like the prehistoric way to do loans, to then, as you and I were mentioning, like in 2012, like pretty much everyone was a correspondent lender or a retail loan officer. So at least in my opinion, the masses were. So we joined a correspondent local lender in Chicago.
Was that guaranteed rate?
No, this was a company. It's no longer around. It was called Pearl Mortgage.
Okay.
I mean, they were
I actually remember them.
They were a national lender.
Yes, they were.
They were kind of like a $2 billion kind of sleepy company. And we just came in with like the young blood and charged it up and went super aggressive with just our marketing, our prospecting, and that was right around the time where within that 24-month period, my partner and I were like, we need to learn what it takes to get to the next level. I'd never seen a $50 million producer. I didn't even know what $100 million, like, I didn't even know someone could do $100 million. I just knew closing 5 deals a month. I didn't even track my volume back in the day. Like, it was just.
You were thinking my average commission is X, so if I just do
calls
this many
and
units.
Calls and deals. That's it.
Makes sense.
All I knew were calls and deals, right? And so then I started understanding, like, the next level, because I was introduced and exposed to the next level, to sophisticated, organized, professional lenders that got referrals. In Illinois, it's an attorney state. I used to laugh. I'm like, why would I want to deal with an attorney and a realtor and people telling me what to do? I'm like, this is crazy. I'm just going to do refis. But boy, was I confused, right? So we started investing and learning from people and getting mentorship and essentially, going out to those mastermind conferences in Vegas and figuring out where are the best people, what are they doing, who are they learning from, and it's time for us to learn faster. The only hack in business that I've ever known to be true is learn from people who are already ahead of where you are and where you want to go. So fast forward, as we discussed prior, I joined a couple different coaching companies. Some were like, hey, I'm driving to work every day. Listen to the CD in your car. And it's like, those were freaking phony, right? I'm not going to even call out those people's names. And then there were some really good people that had some great coaching systems and some great sales systems. And one thing I learned that is, if you're driven and you're ambitious, you just need the right plan. You need the right system. You need the right direction. And you need, absolutely, without question, accountability. And so at that stage, I was doing 20 to 30 million. I got into coaching. Within 24 months, I went to 60, then 80, then 100, then 120, then 170. And, I mean, it's been an unbelievable journey. But again, it's been a 15, 16-year journey in the making.
Well, here's things that it's funny. I can pick up on it. Getting to know you over the past month. Also, myself having a journey where it started 18 years ago. So it's like anything. I was listening to, I think it was like one of the radio, nationally syndicated sports talk radio. And I can't remember who the host was, but it probably was Colin Cowherd, more than likely. Yeah. And Colin was like, sometimes for me, I can just see around the corner when you can't. Why? He's like, because I've been in broadcast for 30 years, right? So much of like what you're explaining to me, what I'm getting to share with the audience, is because I can see around the corner because I'm going into my almost third decade, finishing off my second decade, going into my third decade here next year. So when Justin was speaking, which by the way, he's funded over $1 billion in his career. $1 billion, that's a big number. That's like 3 commas. So $1 billion in fundings. But you said things, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's an episode in itself. You had to pivot from subprime to prime.
Right.
Because for those who haven't studied our industry, subprime went away in 2009. Like officially, so you got started, your first 3 years were nothing but subprime. Your product was just stripped from you. You don't talk about like who moved my cheese. There's some cheese movement. Then you're like, we pivoted to just buying leads on bankrate.com or lendingtree.com.
Lower my bills.
Yep, but you're still doing refis. You're still very much a call center type atmosphere.
High commodity, high call center. Exactly.
Yep, did that for another 3+ years. And I guess what I was hearing is it's never too late to pivot. And when you're forced to pivot, it's okay. It's natural.
Right.
And even the most and the highly successful have done this before, because then you had to pivot away from buying leads to generating your own leads. You had to pivot away from refis, which is a freaking roller coaster,
right,
to I'm going to self-generate purchase leads from long-term referral sources like realtors, builders, CPAs, and financial advisors, which offers all of us the consistency and the control that we crave.
Right.
You've done all that. You glossed over it. And I'm like, oh my God, we should have Justin back just to talk about deep dives into, talk about your pivot with subprime. Talk about your pivot from refi to purchase. We don't have time for that because I do want to get into what you just hit on. Coaching.
Yeah.
You went from, if I remember, 20 to 30, 30 to 60, 60 to 80, 80 to over 100.
Yep.
You attribute it to coaching.
Hands down.
And you're willing to go pay someone for their time and expertise. Because you could try to figure it out on your own, at which point it may take you 7 years. It may take you never, because you never achieve it. And sometimes we never achieve it because honestly, people, from my experiences, I wasn't in the room where it happened. I wasn't around others that were already doing it, so I didn't think it to be possible. Coaching allows you to be introduced to people who are doing it above and beyond what you do. You see what's possible, then you figure out, wait a minute, they're not different than me. What are they doing? And then how do I do that? And that's where you hire a coach to say, I'll pay you so you will tell me and show me and hold me accountable because I want to be just like him or her, right? So you did all of that. You own a coaching company.
Yep.
This is what I want to get into.
Yep.
All right. I want some freebies for the audience, Justin.
Yeah, absolutely.
What are some things that you're doing right now to add value to your coaching students? What are you telling them? What are you teaching them without giving away, too much for free? Mm-hmm. What can you share with us today that the audience who is tuned in, who is primarily, you have real estate agents who tune in, mortgage loan originators, you have sales professionals and entrepreneurs. That's the bulk of our audience is that, and then sprinkle in a bunch of college students.
All right.
Okay, a bunch of basically future of our industries also tune in. What is some information you can share with them that they can write down today and be like, man, I'm glad Justin shared that because I'm going to implement it. It'll make me a better person or a better professional.
Yep, absolutely. So let's park there for a second.
Okay.
I want to take a step back to why and how coaching helped me so much, and then I'll get into some tactics. I didn't know what play to run. I love sports analogies because I'm a sports guy. I had the drive. I had the work ethic. I had the right intentions. I just needed the direction. I didn't understand what sales activity that I should be doing and measuring, and how much of it, would equate to the number of leads I needed to get, and then how many leads I need to get to close the amount of. I didn't know any of that. I didn't understand the nuances of the business because I never learned it. No one taught it to me, right? Mm-hmm. So once I understood that, it was my sales activity drove my leads, and my leads, if I got a certain number of leads, I can increase the quality of my sales skills, what I say to a new client. or I could get better leads if the quality was coming in low. So I had to go prospect. So basically, I learned how to track my business. I learned how to quantify what I did every day. I learned what offense and defense was. I used to then think, it's all about sales. It's all about sales. Well, what happens when you get so much business that you don't have time to work on it? You got to go work on your business, and then you don't have time to prospect. So then I learned that the first skill you need is leverage. Whoever can generate the most leads per hour, per day, per month wins.
Correct.
And then you need to learn how to hire, build, lead a team so that they can do the loans and I can go get the loans. My highest skill set is getting loans, leading, managing, and now creating content. That's the leverage, right?
That's where you are right now in your career.
That's where I am right now,
Yep.
right? But to get there, you have to realize that you need to master your sales skills. And by master them, you need to learn how to sell, who to meet, what to say, what to do, where to go, what the conversations look like. And from there, you need to learn how to then leverage your time by having someone else, it's like a food truck analogy. A food truck can only serve so many people. When you're cooking, chopping, dicing, sweeping, cleaning, serving, you're a food truck. Most loan officers are a food truck, right?
Facts.
Then you can get to a little bit of a diner. You got a waiter and a hostess. I'm like a 5-star steakhouse. And I say that not to brag, but I've learned that there's a next level and a next level
You started as a food truck.
I started as a bad food truck. And then I learned how to be a decent food truck. And then I learned how to open a diner, i.e. what my LOA does, what my processors do, right? Then I learned how to have another loan officer. Now I have business development with me. Now I can walk around and greet all the customers sitting down eating to make sure they're enjoying their meal and that they feel connected to me. But I don't need to cook, serve, and clean their food anymore. I can just catch the fish and own the boat, and someone else can, skin it, debone it, cook it, and serve it.
Facts. Yes.
And I don't say that in a disrespectful or to derogate anybody, but I didn't know that until someone opened my eyes and said, dude, there's no way you can do 30 loans a month if you're looking at tax returns. There's no way.
Yeah.
And in one of my best years, I did 400 units.
That's crazy.
And I worked, a pretty, I have 2 kids. I wasn't a zombie in my basement. I have a life.
Yeah, your wife saw you, your kids saw you, your family and friends still saw you.
The trick, I'm telling you, this is a great, beautiful business. The trick to this business is how do you keep your income going up without having your hours continue to follow?
Yeah, here's something interesting that you just said, or at least the way that I heard it, that I want the audience to take from this. Justin started as a bad food truck owner-operator.
A bad salesperson.
Okay? Because so many times LOs would be like, well, of course he closed 400 units, or of course he did 90 million last year and 170 million 2 years ago because he has a team. And I'm like, God, dog it. You know what? He didn't wake up with a team.
Right.
He built to that, right? He first had to figure out how to do 24 million by himself.
Right.
And before 24 million, he did 12.
Right.
Right. And then 24 led to 30. And then when he did 30, he's like, I'm going to hire an assistant. And I'm guessing you weren't the best leader, the first person that you hired, but you hired them and then you grew. And then you're like, let's leverage, let's scale up. You learn from where you went. What you stopped doing what you never did. You never stopped moving forward, right? You always moved forward. You always wanted more. And I think that's what so many people fail to recognize, and they just want to make an excuse. Well, of course he does this because look at his team.
Right.
And I don't buy that. I don't agree with
that. I heard this saying a long time ago. People love to focus on the fruit, but they don't see the root, right? No one gets to where they're at in this business without a lot of hard work, a lot of trial and tribulation, and a lot of mistakes, right? You hire bad people, you're a bad leader, a bad listener, a bad salesperson, and then you learn how to hire people that are quality, and you learn how to become a better leader and have empathy and ask questions and not think you know it all and drop your ego a little bit, right? So fast forward, business was amazing from Chicago. All of a sudden, everything shuts down, COVID. I had been coached. I loved being a part of networking groups, a part of masterminds. I invest every year in my own personal development. I never think I'm the smartest guy in the room, and I'm usually not, right? So I'm always open. My brain is like an antenna. I want frequency from high caliber, smart individuals because that's how we learn, right? I don't need to go figure it out and take a machete and carve a path into the forest when this guy already has the shortcut. I'm just going to follow this guy who's ahead of me.
Yes.
And that's how I always think. And so that being said, 2020 kicks in. We're banging out units. It's crazy. I'm working from home. I'm like, this is amazing. This is, I'm literally making $1 million in my flip-flops and my shorts, having lunch with my kids, like taking my dog out. And then I'm like, I'm kind of lonely. I'm kind of missing something. And this was me processing my thoughts over time. I'm like, if I feel this way, I know that other people feel this way. And for the record, or not for the record, but by the way, my partner and I now oversee 3 branches with anywhere from $700 million to $1 billion in production in 2 states, Chicago and Florida.
That's awesome.
So we have staff, we have other loan officers that do 20 to 90 million a year, right? About 12 to 15 guys and gals. So we were, taking kind of inventory and getting attuned with everyone. That was how everyone was feeling. The chit chat at the water cooler, the camaraderie, the synergy, the office element was completely gone in most states around the country, right? So I said, there is a void right now, and this is a great opportunity after 10 years, 7 to 10 years, 7 paying, 10 being mentored, of learning and investing in my skills and learning and investing in my craft. I'm qualified to help, and I actually want to help now other people. And I say want to because there was a time in my career where I was like, I'm not showing, I'm not showing you the goods, man. Like, right? Like now I will gladly share that information because part of it was working from home and getting this perspective. Part of it, I think, is just maturity. Part of it is knowing that, the law of attraction, like karma, like just having some abundance. And again, I think a lot of it's maturity. And moving down to Florida, I'm like, dude, there are bazillions of people. Housing's ubiquitous, right? Like there is so much, like I don't need to be like selfish or greedy, right? And my life got changed, man. I mean, when I tell you my life was changed, I became more organized. Everything, how you do the little things is how you do everything, right? And I believe that. The more organized I got professionally, the more organized I got personally. If you can't manage your database and track your leads, you can't manage your money. If you can't cultivate great relationships and lead people and be a great business person, you probably don't have great personal relationships and friendships, and people might not be able to count on you. And I hate to say that, but it's true. It's true.
I would not disagree with you.
And as I became more professional and more organized in my business, I became more professional in my personal life. I managed my money better. I took care of my investments better. I took care of my health better. I started to understand what was important, and I started to attract better people in my life. And that's the beauty of business is you can control the direction you go based on your inputs and your outputs. So I started to put good information, surround myself with good people. And I said, man, I was able to retire my wife. My wife went to school, got her master's as a teacher. And after we had our first kid, she had a little bit of postpartum, wasn't feeling great. I said, that's it, we're done. You're done. No more. Like, if you want to stay home with our kids, you're staying home with our kids. I'll pay for your college since I didn't go to college. Give me the bill, right? Like, and like, I mean, I'm getting goosebumps telling you that, but like, dude, my dad drove a taxi.
Yeah.
I couldn't afford lunch as a kid. Like, that's real, right? Fast forward, my wife doesn't work. I bought a new house. Coaching changed my life. It empowered me to earn, and now I can impact people, teach them what I've learned from other people, and just hand it down the road, man.
Yeah, it's your turn to pay it back.
100%.
And it's so cool how life works because there's a certain aspect of maturity that I, too, very similar path, right? Like, of needing to mature. I mean, still make a mistake as a leader. I made a huge mistake yesterday as a leader that I'll have to learn from. That, the good thing about me is it'll stick with me for decades. And because of reach, meeting people like you or having the podcast audience, I'm going to tell that story. So hopefully someone else can learn from my mistake.
Yeah.
But you reach a point in your career, in your life, where you're financially, for the most part, stable. Right, you have a lot of money saved. You're pretty confident in your ability to earn going forward, regardless of industry, probably at this point for guys like you and I, because you figure once you master one industry, it then becomes sales, marketing, and development.
Right.
And you can sell and market and develop in multiple industries. But then it's like, well, I'm not fulfilled. And you realize that it's not about the money.
Right.
And by the way, it is about the money until you have it.
Right.
And then once you have it, it makes it very easy to, oh, yeah, well, it's not about the money. Well, yeah, you say that because you have money.
Right.
So what I've learned is it is about the money until you get it. Then once you get it, you realize it's not about the money. It's about others. It's about what you do with that money or what you do with those experiences. And because you have money, you're now more willing to be less selfish with those ideas, which, by the way, the ideas are not new.
They're not new.
They're not new.
Right.
So why not share them?
Yeah. Who am I to hoard?
Yes. Especially when we kicked off this episode, we stated it's the drive, the passion, the desire. That's what makes someone successful. It's not typically the idea.
No.
Now, if you're Bill Gates, it was maybe the idea. If you're Jeff Bezos, the idea.
Right.
Richard Branson, the idea. But for most of us, like those are outliers. That's why we talk about them.
Yeah.
For most of us, it was the drive, the passion, and the ambition. So the idea is let's share them.
Absolutely.
And now you're finding that you're becoming a better professional the more you share.
100%.
You're becoming a more confident, more calm professional the more you share. And because COVID took your community away, you found your community.
And I'm finding fulfillment, right?
Yes.
I learned that my joy in life is not tied to my income as a loan officer anymore. It was for a long time.
Yes.
I'm not going to lie. But at some point, once you've earned and I've been fortunate enough to buy the things that I want in life, now I'm like I want to help the guy or the gal that I used to be, because this is a beautiful business where you can literally make 6 figures a month. Now, that comes with the cons of the business where you can make no money 3 months in a row, right? So that being said, it's like, how can I share and help more people have a great life, take care of their families, because so many people help me do the same thing. So let's talk about some tactics, right?
Yeah. So because your coaching company started as a Facebook group, which I think is cool as shit, by the way.
Yeah, we started as kind of an online loan officer community, and started.
What was it called? Is it still around, the Facebook group?
Yeah, it's called LOTPE, Loan Officer Top Producer Exchange.
Okay,
Loan
and that was
Officer
just
Top
a
Producer
Facebook group
Exchange.
that you and your partner started,
Right.
where you basically made yourself available
We
to
started
answer
sharing.
questions.
Yeah, we created our own forum to share best practice and to really beta test, would this type of coaching style be well received.
Okay.
Right? There's a handful of well-known coaching companies out there. They all do something really well. What we realized was no one was talking to the modern loan officer, not the young loan officer, the modern loan officer. Everyone knows the sales systems, how many calls you should be making, status updates, database, so on and so forth. Those are traditional. The modern loan officer needs to be more visible. They need to know how to create content. They need to know how to go direct to consumer. They need to know how to market, advertise, how to get their product, which is them, on more shelves, which is in front of where the consumer is, which is on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, so on and so forth. When you marry the traditional sales systems, calls, meetings, events, networking chambers, etc., and you marry that with content, videos, reels, the right type of emails, direct to consumer, long form, short form, etc., magic happens. Magic happens. So now it's like, it's not one thing that works. It's a consistent combination of all the right things over time. So it's more quantity, more quality, more quantity, more quality. So we teach people the same systems and sales processes that people have been learning for 2 decades with a modern twist. But we also show and help and educate people how to create the right content, what the framework is, how to do a good hook, how to tell the story, how to put a call to action in, right? How to shoot a reel, what type of information you need, and give them a progression to where it's like done for you. Now it's kind of, we're helping you, now you're doing it on your own with your twist and your flavor, because at the end of the day, you know this, people buy us.
Yes, they do.
Right? So you also have to remember, you have to be authentic. I can't be Dustin and Dustin can't be Justin, right? Because it's phony. And the irony is that people make content for the people they think that are going to judge them. Or I'm sorry, they're scared to make content because they think the people that they know are going to judge them, those people are never going to work with you anyway. So make content for the person that you want to attract. Teach the client you want to help, right? Speak and breathe into that information to create a community of people, and that's what people miss out on. They think that they got to make just sold, just closed so their peers like their post. No, you need to speak and educate the person that you want to attract. If you do VA loans, talk to the veteran who doesn't know where to start. If you're a master with FHA and down payment, go into that market and speak to the people that are looking for that information. They will find you. And be you, right? It can't be all business, all like lame, like company stock posts. You have to share with people what you're passionate about, what your hobbies are, what your family's like, where you effed up, right? What you do on the weekends, because the people that identify with golf, cigars, and scotch, they're going to do loans with you when you talk about the type of loan that they need, right?
Oh, I love it. I love what you just said too. Our audience is probably tired of me saying this, but my son turns 18 this weekend. So you had been saying, well, my 17-year-old son, now it's my going to be 18-year-old son, high school senior. But so much of the past 2 years, as I've watched him develop into this awesome young man that he's becoming, anymore, my parental advice has been, do you, homie. Like, literally, do you, homie. I've called him big homie his whole life. Like, and that's just how I talk. It's how he responds.
Right.
But when I talk to sales professionals, you said, Justin can't be Dustin and Dustin can't be Justin. And I'm thinking, yeah, do you, homie. And that's why I tell LOs and realtors and financial advisors, like, yes, you need to follow what Justin teaches.
Right.
You need to listen to what these coaching programs are putting out there because they have the patterns figured out. And in business, follow patterns. You talked about following the bushwhacker. Like, why be the bushwhacker when you can walk behind the bushwhacker who's already paving the trail,
right,
and you can follow in their footsteps? I'm a huge fan of saying follow the patterns, but at the same time, you got to be authentic, because if you're not, that comes across, then you can't attract anybody.
And then you can't do it consistently because it's not real.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So something I learned. Here's a tactic I want to give everybody today that you can implement today. Consumers and realtors do not know how to understand the housing economics. There is too much emotion, too many. Now, don't get me wrong. 7% is alarming, right? But at the end of the day, understanding and educating people, for example, on the opportunities in a 7% market is powerful. What type of opportunities are there? Well, you can negotiate the price. There's more inventory. You can get a seller credit. They can cover your closing costs. You can do a rate buy down. What type of opportunities are in a 3% market? Very little.
None. Cheap interest rates, your opportunity.
You don't get the house you want. Yeah. You make 25 offers and get discouraged. There's a line around the block. And if you get the home you want, it's number 17 on the list, and you pay 50 grand over.
Those are facts.
Right? So
yes.
That all being said, everything, one of the best sales systems for social selling, right? Because social media, modernized, having content. Every day I wake up and I read 30 to 45 minutes. I read National Association of Realtors. I read Inman News. I read Housing Wire. I read the Wall Street Journal. I spend 30 to 45 minutes. I read 3 to 5 articles. I educate myself exactly what's going on, what the trends are, what I need to know. I take the headlines. I take the information. I strip it down into what it means to you and how it can impact you. So in other words, for example, Florida, home prices plummet 20%. Well, yeah, they went from plus 30 to plus 10, right? So as a home buyer, I'm thinking the housing market's going to crash. So I take the headline, I unpackage it, I explain it to you so that you can understand it, and then I say, here's what this means for you. If you buy a $500,000 home, it's likely to be worth $550,000 in the next 12 to 24 months. And you might not have to overpay for it, right? So every single day, I consume, I create, and I conversate. That's a 3C method that I don't think I've monikered, but that I teach. I consume, I create, and I conversate. I take, download, read information, consume. I take the headlines, the snippets, the articles, the charts. I package it up into content, into short form videos and reels, and into weekly emails that I send my realtors. So I give my realtors great emails every Monday with a market update, 2 to 3 data points that they can then communicate effectively to their audience.
By the way, if you're driving in your car because you're listening on Spotify or Apple and you're not watching us on YouTube, this is the point that you click pause, you pull over, you either get out your phone, you go to your notes section, you rewind us, and listen to that all over again and take notes.
100%.
That was money right there. That's a freebie.
That's a freebie.
That's a freebie. That's phenomenal. Like, that right there is phenomenal. I love it. You mentioned Housing Wire. You may have an article coming out.
I heard. Big DO.
Yeah. I've been writing for them. It's been so much fun. It's my creative outlet. And the next article that I think they're going to publish, they told me they're going to publish it, is truly me almost yelling at the mortgage loan originators out there saying, quit speaking mortgage, because to what you just said, you have to be able to consume, digest, and then disseminate,
right,
but in words that your audience understands, because your audience doesn't speak LTV, DTI, 2-1 buy down, 30 bips versus 55 bips. No. Right. Speak that in a language they understand.
The last 2 weeks I've been laughing at all the loan officers talking about the FHA upfront MIP.
Oh, Jesus.
I'm like, dude, like, kudos to you for at least putting the camera up in front of your face and talking, but that goes in one ear and out the other.
How about this? And I love these people, so I don't want to talk ill about them.
No, but hang on. I want to help them. I want to help them.
Okay, help them.
So
another freebie?
Another freebie.
Ding, ding, ding. All freebie alert. Freebie alert.
This is the formula. Hook, story, offer. So instead of saying, hey, everyone, FHA, upfront MIP, monthly PMI, like, I don't even know what the hell you're saying, right? Here's how you can lower your mortgage payment by $100 a month. Hook, story. Last week, the government made a very beneficial change to help homeowners reduce their mortgage payments. We helped 3 people lock in last week with $150 less per month monthly payment. If you're in the market now and you want to learn more, message me here.
There's your reel.
Hook, story, offer. Don't introduce yourself. Don't tell me 17 acronyms I don't understand. Take the information, like mama bird, chew it up, spit it into the baby bird's mouth so that a 7-year-old can understand it and give someone a reason to call you.
Love it. That is literally my article. You just stole my thunder, Justin. Stole it. Thank God that JC is working so far ahead that this episode doesn't drop for like 10 days. Normally, we record on Monday, drop on Tuesday, record on Thursday, drop on Friday. 2 episodes a week, every week for the past
3 years.
3 years. I was trying to do 52 times 3, which is 156 weeks.
Yeah.
But so normally it goes that quick, but I get to go to Costa Rica. I come back for a day. Then I get to go to New York City. Then I come back after like 4 days. So we've had to work ahead. So hopefully my article beats you. If not, then you just stole my thunder.
That's okay.
Let's do this. I know we're getting long on time.
Yep.
And you have some things that you're going to show me once we get off camera that I really want to see.
Yes.
So selfishly, I need to wrap this episode up. Plus, our audience tends to want to keep everything around 35 to 45 minutes.
Perfect.
You're speaking to a mortgage loan originator right now.
Yes.
And I'm pretty sure I know your answers because you may have already shared them. But summarize 3 must-dos if they want to have a successful career. 3 things that, regardless of where you are in your career, these are 3 things you must do to be successful.
So number 1 would be you need to invest in your skills. If you want to make $1 million a year and you make $250 right now, that difference are the skills you don't have. You follow me?
Yep.
That's the theory of constraints, right? So you need to learn from someone that's doing what you want to do. Number 2 is you need to have very clear sales metrics. You need to track your activity and understand that our business tells us a story. So learn from a mentor, have sales metrics, and number 3 is you need to build your personal brand. You need people to find you. We need to make it easier for people to find us. We need to put our product on more shelves. And that doesn't mean you need to dance on TikTok. That means you need to get your product, your commercial, for free on different social media platforms so you can grow your market share. Because if not, guys like me and you are going to take the market share, not on purpose, but because our voice is louder and we're going to reach more people faster.
Yep. It's edutainment. You are educating me while also entertaining me. You are building your personal brand. What is one thing that you wished was taught to you at a younger age that just wasn't? Because maybe they didn't teach it in school, right? Or maybe, growing up in a lower middle class family, it just wasn't taught to you because your parents wasn't taught to them.
Yeah.
That now that you're a father and you think about your children, aging into their teenage years or high school years, what's one thing you're going to make sure that they understand that possibly wasn't taught to you?
That I think in general, you can't learn, for the most part, what you need to be successful in life in school.
Love it.
You need to learn outside of the box from people that are doing what you want to do once you know what you want to do.
And then what is the name of your coaching company? You have been so coy about this.
Yes. So the coaching company is called Growth Only Coaching.
And how do I find it?
GrowthOnlyCoaching.com.
GrowthOnlyCoaching.com.
Yep, because it's nothing but growth. You come with us, you're going to grow. It's a 6-month program. It's bi-weekly, small groups, high accountability, high caliber calls, high sales activity with an e-learning element. So everything we do is recorded. We have modules, we have playbooks, we have point of sale systems and scripts. We teach you traditional sales. We teach you modern sales, how to build your brand, create content, grow your audience, become a multi-market loan officer. The old days of doing business in one city and state are done. This industry is going to bounce back. I think we both know that.
Of course.
Housing is the golden goose. 50 to 70 businesses are tied into the housing, into housing. Despite the government feeling like it's like they're drunk in a closet right now, I don't think they want what happened in 2008 to happen again, right? So we're in the storm, but it's going to get better. But people need to double down on their skills because there are too many LOs fighting over too few deals right now. So the people at the highest level of skill that can put out content, take care of their database, and focus on their activity are going to win. It's very difficult to do that on your own. Winners want to be around winners, and there's synergy and camaraderie in groups. And it's not just mine. There are great coaching companies out there. And before I forget, we're having an amazing event.
Oh, yes.
On April 21st in Chicago, GrowthCon 2023.
GrowthCon.
Right, like Growth
like
Conference.
Yep.
GrowthCon 2023. It's our second event.
Oh, you've already done one?
Yes, we did a small one in Miami last November.
Okay.
We had to downsize it because of the hurricane and everything going on, so we just kind of like minimized it. So we pushed the keynote speakers up to April. So we have Ryan Serhant, one of the top realtors in the country, Glenda Baker, one of the most viewed realtors on TikTok and social media. She makes about $250 plus every 2 months from just social media.
Wow.
We have Barry Habib, #1 housing economist out there, right?
Yep.
We have 2 or 3 other amazing guest speakers. I'm not going to give away them all, but think learning your brand, building sales systems, understanding content. We have one of the top content creators coming out there that does content, video, scripting for folks that like are world renowned in our industry. And it's open to realtors and loan officers. Our sales skills are very parallel. We have to generate leads, deliver a great experience, close a deal, follow up, and market, right? Realtors and lenders. So we're expecting 400 to 500 realtors and loan officers, a lot of camaraderie, a lot of synergy, a lot of networking. Friday, April 21st in Chicago, growthcon2023.com. And I will leave you, I'll get you a code.
Okay.
Any of your listeners will get a 10% discount on their tickets.
Ooh, that discount you can only find by going to TLOPonline.com or theloanofficerpodcast.com. I like that plug. That's pretty awesome. And I'm going to leave everyone with this story that you just made me think about when you talked about the market we're in the storm and needing somebody by your side. One of my favorite movies, it's a classic, Forrest Gump. And the Bubba Gump Shrimp Company became what it became because Bubba had a boat called the Jenny. That would be your company. That would be the people within your organization. And he had a captain, Lieutenant Dan. Right? Why did Bubba Gump end up becoming one of the most successful shrimp fishing fleets in the entire country? Because they outlasted. It was one guy at the helm. It was one guy navigating. And it was a really good boat that was able to withstand the storm.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm going to ask you all right now who tuned in and made it this far. Is your boat the Jenny? Are you Captain Forrest with Lieutenant Dan navigating? And if you're not, go find you a Jenny, go find you a Lieutenant Dan, and hunker down because there is a boatload of shrimp to catch.
Oh, yeah.
Just on the other side of this storm if you're able to persevere and power through.
Absolutely. I love that. It's the law of attrition right now. We're in the middle of a marathon. We're at mile marker 10, and it's going to be who can last the longest, who can increase their skills, who can trim down their budget, who can weather the storm. But on the other side of the storm, it's going to be beautiful.
Can we call it a half marathon? Because mile 10 means I only have 3.1 miles to go.
You get the point.
Yeah.
Mile marker 10, whatever. Half marathon. Fair enough.
There we go. We're going to call it a half marathon because I'm the eternal optimist. But he's Justin. I'm Dustin. He's with Guaranteed Rate. I'm with the Loan Officer Podcast. His coaching company is
Growth Only Coaching.
And your event is
April 21st in Chicago.
That is all the time we have for you today. Thank you for tuning in. We will catch you on the next episode. Peace.
Boom.